Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, hi, Humphrey. Laura has switched computers into a different area of her home where they're doing a little reno, and Humphrey, her dog, we all know and love, he's there too. I'm sure Eddie's going to jump up on her lap any minute now, but welcome to History of a Haunting, guys. I'm Carrie.
I'm Laura.
How's
Living
it?
in a reno.
Living in a reno, yes. So, and also she's drinking from her I Heart Mom mug, which is super cute. I hope it was Zane that got that for you. And not some like random person. So yeah, guys, we have another amazing guest this week. And before we get to all of the fabulous things about her, we do have some EVPs to go over. We haven't done that in a little bit. Merch, first things first, merch. You can find that on our website in our store. We've got the pint glasses, Humphrey shush, pint glasses, wine glasses, mugs, 6 different kinds of stickers. What else, Laura? Is that it? I think that's it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Koozies?
Oh, koozies, bags. Yeah, see, I forgot. Yeah, koozies, bags, all that cool stuff. So every order that we get, we do pack on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook because apparently that's a big deal. And the ASMR part of it, everybody loves. So everybody wants their order packed on TikTok and on social media. So I will do that for you. The next thing, guests, we have some amazing upcoming guests coming. I already said that. Coming up. Guests.
Guests and more guests.
Guests and more guests. We do have, obviously, this week's guest we're going to talk to you about in just a second. And the next weekend, we are recording with Erin Bush, who is this week's guest. She's coming back. We should put her on the payroll. But she knows when nobody gets paid.
That's first.
She's on the payroll and she knows no one gets paid. So she's coming back with Andrea Perrin and Michelle Roos. She is the first female exorcist recognized by the big group of exorcists. I'm not exactly sure of that official group yet. I'll get that for you before they're on.
Exorcists Are Us.
Exorcists Are Us, maybe. 1-800-EXORCIST. I'm not sure who that is. But there's a lot of, we've been getting a lot of like messages and stuff excited that we're actually going to have an exorcist on the show, especially after the Father Gabriel Amort episode that we did. So everyone's really looking forward to that. Everybody loves Andrea Perrin. Everybody loves Erin. So it's going to be a lot of fun, that episode, guys. And then we have Rick McCallum. He is coming up after that. He is a former Hollywood stuntman. He formed the Hollywood Ghost Hunters with Kane Hodder, who played Jason. And is it Rich or RL? I can't remember. The guy that played Leatherface. So there's a bunch of, there's a couple of directors of horror movies like Hatchet and the young little girl that played, her name is Danielle Harris. She played in a couple of the Halloween movies as Michael Myers' like far removed like sister that nobody knew about. So she's part of the group and he's going to be on our show. And so I'm super excited about that as well. And then after that, we have the Ohio State Reformatory group that we're going to be interviewing Greg and Kathy Fiketic, who put on the Ohio State Reformatory, Parapsychon that we went to in May at the Reformatory. And then we're going to be interviewing some of their lead tour guides and things that they've experienced. And then we're also going to be interviewing another one of the vendors that we met there and talk about their experience and stuff like that. So we're just going to recap that Parapsychon for everyone. And then we've got some cool locations coming up. We've got to mix in some locations with the guests. We've got so many guests. And I'm like, we should probably throw a location in there or something.
Maybe, go back to the whole.
Go back to our roots, Laura.
Stuff,
yeah, go back to our roots. So those are the EVPs that I have. How about you, little girl?
I think you covered everything. I can't think of anything.
I love to talk.
We are trying to get the LA trip sorted, right? Carrie announced it, so we are still have the works on that, and we've had a lot of people express interest. So if you're interested, please reach out.
So many. I was
have the
shocked.
Specific date yet, but
yeah,
so those will be coming soon.
Yeah,
and it's LA, so honestly, there's rarely bad weather. It's pretty much beautiful year round.
Never a dull moment.
People live there. There is so much stuff to do that, I mean, just between our tour and then there's so much more stuff to see. I mean, you never run out of stuff to see in LA. I go very often and I never run out of stuff.
Yeah. Super excited. In fact, one of the folks that's coming with us, Laura, is Koi's dad, Josh. He's coming.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he messaged me.
Met him, so
no, I know, yeah. So he messaged, we were texting last night, and I was like, do you want to go do this thing? And he was like, fuck yeah. And then I was telling him about how we're going to try to see if Rick McCallum can come with us. And he was like, oh my God. He was super excited. So we've got a lot of fun stuff planned. And I will say, Laura and I talked about this when we were coming up with it, that, we are going to choose, like, it's kind of invite only. So we're going to pick and choose, like, the first folks that show interest, that we'll go with them. Obviously, the ones that, we'll get into payment details and all that once we get closer to finalizing everything. But we'll have a wait list for everybody else who maybe doesn't get in the first round draft pick. But the location we're going to is amazing. It's iconic, and we want to make sure that we're very, very respectful of the owner of the location. So, we're just, Laura and I have final say on who's coming with us, but it looks like we're going to need a wait list, Laura, because so many people are interested in it. It's going to be a ton of fun. It's an overnight investigation.
We might have to make it an annual thing.
We might have to make it an annual thing for sure. Yeah.
Or at least something. I mean, there are so many places in California to go visit.
So much fun stuff. So yeah, we're going to do a group dinner. We're going to do a haunted Hollywood tour.
To my side.
I know. We felt it was only fair to do something on the north side of the country. She's always having to fly back here. So anyway, all right, guys. That's, do you have anything else you want to tell folks?
Not that I can think of.
No?
At the moment. No,
all right. Yeah, we've got big doings. Big doings. So, the biggest big doing that we have, guys, is our guest this week. And you all know her. You have all met her. You have seen her. She helps manage the website for this podcast, and she fills in as guest host for us if we need her to. She is always there. If like I need something updated, or I've created some promo for the show that looks stupid, and I'm like, help me, this looks dumb. And then she swoops in with her amazing talent and fixes it and makes it look amazing. She's a certified Reiki master. She is an empath and a physical medium. She owns Soul Waves Spiritual Wellness, focusing on helping people find their own spiritual path through healing chronic pain through energy healing. She uses crystals, sound frequencies, meditation, visualization, all kinds of different techniques with her clients, and she does it all virtually as well. So she is an experiencer, and she often channels the galactic family to help her with her healing. And she is a handler for Andrea and Roger Parrott. She fills in as host of A World Awakening, Andrea's weekly live show. Erin has interviewed Laura. She has interviewed me. She has been interviewed by EVPE. She has been everywhere. She's also a guest host on Dead Air Full Spectrum with Ken DaCosta and George R. Lopez. And she is an administrator for Thriller Events, which is a paranormal ticketing platform. Ladies and gentlemen, our episode today, we are going to be covering all things Reiki and all things everything with Erin Bush. Please give a warm History of a Haunting welcome to our girl and our savior half the time, Erin Bush!
Hello, ladies.
Hi.
You make me sound much cooler than I am.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think you do a lot. I remember when you introduced me on Andrea's show, you're like, she's a wearer of many hats. And I'm like writing your intro and I'm like, I am. Jesus. She is. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Super good. Super good. We decided you deserved your own episode. So we've been talking about having you on for a while now. And we have I have a lot of questions for you. Just like for our listeners, some listeners are familiar with you and they know that, you know, who you are and like who you're involved with and what you do. So some folks had some questions that I jotted down. Sure. But we are going to discuss like all things Reiki with you because I know that is probably the one thing that our listeners have always heard about, but maybe not everybody understands what it is, knows what it is. Sure. Some of them are actually interested in becoming Reiki masters. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about how they can go about doing that. But we're going to get all of the other stuff. We're going to talk about that first before we get into your healing and how you help your clients. I think the very first question that I had when I met you, I was introduced to you and they were like, she is the handler for Roger and Andrea Perrin, who, as we know, is the patriarch and the older sister of the Perrin family, the family that started the Conjuring movie and the Conjuring franchise. But what is a handler? What do you do? What is that? What is that? What do you do?
So, in truth, the first time I heard that, I thought it was funny because I thought somebody was messing with me. Like, they're like, oh, you're a handler. And I'm like, okay, what am I, like, herding cats? Like, I didn't even know what that meant.
Kind of, yeah.
Right.
But since then, I have learned. So when we go to these events, whether it's a Paracon or a book signing or whatever, they've got a table set up, you know, with their books or pictures. And it's kind of like, a lot of times it's crowd control.
Oh, okay.
And then making sure everybody's fed, you know, because if you don't keep Roger fed and caffeinated, he can get real grumpy real fast. You saw that in Charlotte. So
yeah. Same with Laura.
It's me too, realistically. You know, but just trying to, you know, make the lines move fast. You know, if people want pictures with Andrea or Roger, I would much rather be on that side of the camera. So I'm usually taking the pictures for people, you know, getting money, you know, making sure they're places where they need to be on time, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of like I've started jokingly calling myself like a Girl Friday because you do a little bit of a lot of things, you know, with Andrea, there's a lot of energy work involved to kind of keep her standing upright. And that kind of thing. So it's a mix of a lot of different things, but it's just kind of making sure that the events that they're at go smoothly so that they can really maximize the time that they have with the people that came to see them.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's cool. Yeah,
That's
I definitely
kind of how I look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Laura kind of got an idea at Ohio State Reformatory. Didn't you guys go to Andrea's booth? Did you guys go?
Sure.
Yeah. So Laura got an opportunity to see exactly what a Paracon is like for Andrea. There wasn't ever a time I had gone down to say hi to her and then ask one other time to see where you were, Erin, and waiting, waiting.
Never stops.
It never stops.
Never stops.
So I can see where she would need like you to kind of like re-energize her. And so I think that people have heard the term handler. And I thought that's the first question I'm going to ask her is like, what exactly does a handler do? So you don't, as far as like, you're not really a personal assistant. You don't like book her travel or do any of that kind of handler schedule, nothing like that.
Yes and no. I mean, the bulk of the scheduling and flying and all that's handled by her agent, Greta. So she handles, you know, booking all the events and stuff like that. But then, you know, I do a ton of stuff for them. Like last week, for example, before she went to Alaska, she hasn't been home since December. So she's had the same clothes the whole time. Oh, and those clothes are not conducive to Alaska. So I drove down to their house in Florida and got my camera out and my phone and put it on her bed, and we went through her closet. Had coffee with Roger. You know, so just weird shit like that. Or, you know, she can't find an address to a book she sent and it came back. Like, it just, whatever they need, I try to fill in for.
Oh, okay. All right. That's cool.
But that's always, you know, that's not the stuff that ever gets really asked about because it's, I mean, I've always been an assistant, so I'm just assisting.
Sure. Okay. All right.
You know?
All right, cool. All right. So any downsides
Roger
to the
gets locked
job?
out of his email. Erin drive down to Winter Garden. You know, that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. I like it. Any downsides to the job? You're like, yeah, Roger gets locked out of his email and Erin drives down to Winter Garden.
Well, you know what? I love that though, because I mean, I really have been kind of adopted by them. And so it's kind of like having coffee with grandpa when you go down there.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there's really any. How honest can I be? No. Downsides. One, the energetic balance is really hard at those events.
Sure.
I mean, we all were at OSR, and just managing ourselves as attendees and vendors
Yeah.
has its own thing. But when you're handling like a superstar in the paranormal field, as I would say she is,
Yeah.
the energy that comes with that. I mean, you saw that. And so people are like chopping at the bit. They're crying. They're falling down.
Yes.
They're so overwrought with emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to kind of figure out how to navigate that. Even though it's not directed at you, you're in that, small
Proximity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would think the other downside to it is just the hate you get from people who just don't like you for breathing because you're associated with certain people. So that would be my other.
Yeah.
Feel free to edit that out. But those are the only two downsides that I can really think of.
Yeah, I can.
Like, nope.
No, that stays right in. That stays right in because it's true.
It's a very real thing, and it's really hard to deal with. And
yeah,
that's
A lot
probably
of
been the toughest
jealousy.
one to navigate.
yeah, a little bit of jealousy. Is it a job that, like, if somebody's listening to this that is thinking, hey, you know what, that actually sounds kind of cool? Is that a job that you would recommend? People to try and get, like, if I'm okay, guys, and I'm not saying that, hey, I have the classifieds for if you want to be a handler for somebody that's, a paranormal celebrity. I'm not saying that, but I'm just, should you find a position like that on LinkedIn or wherever the hell, I don't know.
Do it.
Erin says do it.
Absolutely do it.
That's cool.
It's one of those things where I didn't know what I was doing. I've never been a handler for I've always been an assistant, but
Sure.
I've not handled someone with that kind of platform. So it does come with a big learning curve, just trying to navigate things. But oh my God, absolutely do it. If you get the chance and it falls into your lap or you happen to be at the right place at the right time, absolutely do it all day.
Awesome. Love it.
All day.
I love it.
Yeah, it's fun.
All right, Laura, you have the next question. We didn't write any down. We're just asking questions. So what do you want to know?
Don't put me on the spot, dude. I was just gonna chime in when I thought of something.
I talk too damn much on this show.
I mean, that's true. But
Everybody
works
says
for
it.
me, 'cause I'm not always like, super talkative. I'm just trying to think. Do you see yourself like in branching out more into doing your own kind of stuff in the paranormal field, maybe investigating more? I know we kind of touched on this at OSR, but do you see yourself doing that more in the future? And
I think I'm going to have to. I've never been an investigator, as y'all know. I have a jump scare like no other, and so I'm not usually the person you want. Yeah, fun for y'all, right? But kills, EVPs and shit like that when your investigator's screaming in the corner because somebody tapped her on the shoulder. But I do realize, given the people I work for, that I have to definitely get more involved with that, because that's one side of my energy that I haven't really played with a ton.
Yeah.
Right? Like I've learned, I spent 4 days at the Conjuring House last year over Halloween, and that I learned I was not grounding and protecting enough. And it's not because it was, that Carrie, as you all know, anything negative or anything scary. It's just
a lot.
It's a lot. OSR was a lot.
Oh God, so much.
So I think would I ever consider being an investigator long term? Probably not. And that's a lot because where we live in St. Augustine, surprisingly, there are no groups down here that you can join.
That's so wild.
Like legitimate investigative groups. Isn't that crazy? So, and St. Augustine's limited on the amount of places that will let you in. There are very few places that will let you in to investigate unless it's through their touristy version of investigation. So that makes it a little more difficult.
That's probably why then. That's
but
why
I
there
think
aren't that too many groups.
Yeah. But my lack of experience, I know, shows when, like we do some of these live investigations, I can't offer to help do evidence review because I don't have the trained ear that y'all have or the trained eye that you have. And so I think from a standpoint of, is it important for me to go down that road a little further for learning purposes? Absolutely.
Sure.
And I'm going to be at the farmhouse for like 18 days in a row. So I would imagine that there's going to be plenty of opportunity to sit on an investigation or two because I've not investigated that place at all. I've spent a lot of time there, but I've never had the chance to be involved in one of those.
But just again, as more like a handler type, like just making sure that like the people running it have what they need to be able to run it, right? That was a Halloween.
Right. And usually, like Halloween, it was, there were tours. So we would get there at like noon and there were tours for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 tours during the day. And then you only had a very small window where she could talk to people because parking is very limited. So you had to get people in and get them out.
Yeah.
So by the time all that's done, she's just exhausted. So she's like, let's go back to the hotel, which is fine. I'm tired too. But
and then Carrie calls and freaks out while everybody's getting into bed.
Right. Well, but I was talking to Cody and Satori, and they are going to be there the second half of my trip. So I'm hoping to get to learn some from them while I'm there too and how they do things. Because obviously I love seeing them do their thing anyway, but I still think the way questions are asked and things like that, there's just a lot for me to learn. So that's a really long-winded question or answer to your question. I'm sorry.
No, but it's important. Like it was an important question to ask because you are so involved with it that I think you're right. At some point, you're just going to be put in that position to just do an investigation. Now, really quick, for those who don't know, tell us who Cody and Satori are. For those who don't know.
So Cody and Satori, Satori HoaH is Jason HoaH's youngest daughter. Jason HoaH's from Ghost Hunters, and Cody is her boyfriend. And so they are, I think they had 2 or 3 episodes on the current season of Ghost Hunters. But they mainly investigate with Rise Up Paranormal, which is Ken DeCosta's group, which I get to do virtual investigations with. Yeah. And they've got a very unique way of communicating with spirit. Are they called the Paranormal Couple? Is that they are how they're known? The Paranormal Couple. Yeah, they have a haunted museum too. It's a traveling exhibit right now, but they're working on setting up their first permanent exhibit space.
Oh, wow. I couldn't do that. I don't want any haunted objects. No.
They have so many haunted objects. No. So yeah, that's who Cody is. They're kind of
I'd really like to go to one of these days. That's cool.
You what? Yeah.
I'd like to go to a haunted museum sometime. I didn't make it to the one in Vegas, although I don't know. That one's kind of...
How?
But...
Yeah. Some of the stuff not maybe so legit there, but some of the stuff he's got is.
It's a big box. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That too if you need to, but...
Maybe, Laura, next time you do come back east, maybe we go up to the Conjuring House and up to that area, because John Zaffis has a haunted museum, doesn't he?
He does. The kicker with Zaffis is it's set up just like the Warrens and that it's part of his house.
Oh, okay.
It's not a museum that you can buy tickets to online and go visit. So it has to be
just one of these has these things in his house?
Well, it's like so they have their house, and then you walk through the house, you go out the back deck, and it's a separate building. And it's 2 stories. And you walk in, and on the left side, it's boxes of unopened haunted objects that he hasn't even had a chance to go through, nor does he have anywhere to put them.
Nope.
And and then his office,
just chilling.
And then it's just chilling. And the museum itself is downstairs, and it is just crammed full of shit. And so we spent about 4 hours with John
in the museum.
Upstairs. Yeah, and between his office and the museum, we were at his place for like 4 hours. Yeah.
Yikes! That's some energy too. I bet it was hard to shake off.
It was. That trip I did too much paranormally in one weekend, and I discovered paranormal hangover is very much like a drinking hangover, and we gave up alcohol for a reason. So, but yeah, I mean, his place was interesting energetically. There was a lot going on, but I find those fascinating just because they have so much stuff from so many different things. I mean, he has a whole part of the room that's just ritual stuff that he's gotten.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the picture of me that he took, that's in the ritual section of the museum, dude. And we walked down those stairs and it was fucked up. I got my first scratch down there.
Oh
did my
shit!
first
Really?
spirit box down there. Yeah, but it wasn't like a mean scratch. I think there was a spirit in a wedding dress that I kept picking up on. I was getting choked, and I think she was trying to get my attention.
Oh.
And my back was to the dress. And I didn't feel it at the time, but when I got back to the hotel later, because Justin was up doing work, so we were staying at his Airbnb, and it was probably about like that long, but it was on my lower back, like above, like under where my pants would be. And I thought, well, could I have done that? And I said, no, if I was adjusting my jeans, it would have been a vertical scratch, right? Or whatever. So
it was below the top
below
of your
my jeans line. Yeah, or my leggings. Yeah, it was below that.
So it couldn't have been anything on the dress that would have. Wow.
I was probably about 1.5 feet from the dress. I just said to I was like, why am I choking? I love Johnny because he was like, you've got to start calling out what you're getting. Stop being nervous about it. And
Get out of your own way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard that before, half a dozen times at least in the last 6 months. But so I guess the story, and I told him, I said, I'm choking. I feel like I'm strangled. So I don't know. And he said, turn around. So it's this wedding dress, I think from the 1800s. And the bride wanted to take her last walk by herself to the church. And she never got to the church. They found her strangled to death behind the church.
That's
awesome.
Laura's like, I can't. I have to see all of
picked
this.
up Vikings in there. That place, it's nuts.
Vikings, really?
I don't mean it's awesome bad things happen to her. I think it's awesome that all this stuff is happening. It's very interesting, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we at one point, because I was with Julie Griffin, who's very much a sensitive.
Yeah, yeah.
And I walked in and I kept getting the word Viking over and over and over again. And before it even came out of my mouth, she's calling out that she's seeing a big, huge guy covered in animal skins, like
my
John's
God.
just watching this play out,
Wow.
But those, man, there's so much energy in those.
Yeah, no.
I
My mother would never, ever allow me to bring any kind of haunted object anywhere near the vicinity of this house. But I've never been around any haunted objects. I don't think anybody, maybe somebody at the at OSR had some, but I didn't really walk around and look too much at.
Didn't either.
I really only stopped and looked at the vendors who were selling crystals.
I know you too.
It's really the only ones that I stopped at. But and then also Ghost Brothers, because Juwan is so beautiful. Anyway, he's so beautiful. He walked by and I was like, I can't look at him. When we were standing outside the smoking area, the Ghost Brothers walked by at the end to leave. And
who? What?
Yeah, Erin's like, and I had watched Dalen and what's the other one's name? Marcus and Dalen walked by, and I was like watching them, and they smiled, and I was like, hi, or whatever. And Erin goes, "There's Juwan," and I looked, and I'm like, "Oh God!" And I looked at the ground, and I'm like, "Oh God, I can't look at him. I wanted to look at him so bad, but I knew if I did, I'd be like, "Hi," drool. I would be like an annoying, weirdo 13-year-old, just like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Don't look at him, Carrie. You're gonna make a fool of yourself." So
he's very, very, very attractive and very, very, very nice.
Oh, is he really? God, yeah.
Is that the guy? Is that the Ghost Brother I met downstairs that we stopped and talked to? He's real tall. Of the three. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fuck off! You met? You didn't tell? Did you tell me you met him? Did I listen to the? Did you tell me you met him?
I don't. You know how much I don't know who anybody is. So I just I
don't know. I met a really tall black guy. I don't know.
I knew he was one of the Ghost Brothers, but nice. I'm not super familiar with the show, so I don't know anybody's name. So, yeah. So there's that. Yeah.
He's a beautiful man. He's a beautiful man, and it's a bummer that their show is canceled.
I don't watch a lot of the paranormal TV. You know that. I don't.
I know. You really should. You really should.
I've been rewatching Anthony Bourdain lately, so that's been.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah. Sometimes you do have to remove yourself out of this world. Sometimes I think partially because
it keeps me fresh. I don't want all that in my brain.
24/7. Yeah.
Yeah, but also I feel like at some point it when I go to these places, I'm gonna have a lot of preconceived ideas about what this places. Like, of course, I do the history. So, I mean, and we talk about it on the show. But I mean, when you inundate yourself so much, I feel like I'm going to have a lot of that in my mind, and I don't want to have that.
Yeah.
Other people's experiences, like on me. You know?
Fair. That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, we can talk about that. That's something we can certainly get into when we interview the OSR folks, because I thought that I have a lot of questions for you then, Laura, during that episode. But yeah, we did drag Erin around when we were at OSR. And I was like, we need promo shots for the podcast, and let's go early before the, Sunday vendor, everything opens, and drug her down to solitary confinement. And it was like, let's take pictures inside the cells, and here, you have a fear of heights. Let's go as high as we can up on the East Cell block of the sixth story. Like, it was.
If it weren't for that fucking cage on the top, like 3 tiers, you could not have done anything to get me up there.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, it is. I
fell at the bottom.
It's a great place to take photos, though, like as somebody who likes to take pictures.
Yeah.
The light. Oh, God.
Yeah. The and just the juxtaposition, all the decay, and yeah.
We got such great photos.
It's the literal definition of hauntingly beautiful.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's very well put, for sure. Yeah.
Plus, it's a huge jail.
It's
it's creepy, and and like you said, like pretty, but not pretty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you get great light,
It really is, like the shadow effects. I mean, it's just, there's no downside. At night, it's a vastly different story. Erin and I did the ghost walk Friday night. It was started still kind of daylight, but when it was ended, it was dark inside that building. And you could actually see shadows that were darker than the dark. And especially down in solitary, it was wild. It was really wild. And that was when, like, the very first time, I think, Erin, that you and I had been in a location like that together and kind of doing an investigation, because they would let us like poke around and whatever. And to see that, like, you genuinely were out of your element and real uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh, creepy, scary thing went in this room. All right, I'm going to go in this room where the creepy, scary thing went, like. So she was just like, I'm just going to hang out and chill and look around.
Well, I think too, there's an element to certain locations, and I think that Sweet Spring Sanatorium that they did on Project Fear the other night, there are certain places that no matter how big they are, constantly the walls are closing in because there's so much energy there, and they're getting. Bernie wants to make an appearance. They're getting closer. They're getting closer. They're not super happy. What are you doing here? And so I just always feel like the walls are closing in.
Hey, she's got a dog like you. That. Yeah.
Yeah, talker.
Bernie,
talker. You got a talker.
Bernie's like, we don't like talking about this stuff, Mom.
Bernie doesn't like me talking to anybody other than Bernie. That's the problem. But yeah, I think. But I think things. Hear him? I mean, he's like, Bernie. What's the problem?
He's cute.
But I think when you're as green to investigating as I am, you'd be an idiot not to take it. You guys want to pause for a second? I'm going to give him some peanut butter.
Sure.
Right, give me a second.
All right, we're good. All the dogs are taken care of. We took a quick break. I almost stepped on Tater when I walked out. I didn't know he wanted in here, so all the dogs want to be on the show. But they can't. So we we did various things with them and put them away. They're safe. Calm down, you guys. Okay. So let me think. Did you have another question for her as far as like the paranormal-y side and anything like that for her?
No, I don't think so. I think we kind of covered it.
I think we kind of did. So let's get into the Reiki part, okay? So first of all, how did that happen? Okay, sorry. First of all, Erin, we're going to just like start at the very beginning. What is Reiki?
So Reiki is a healing modality where basically you're channeling either however you call it, chi, life source energy, source, whatever you want to call it. It's been around for a very long time, but it was really brought into like more of the mainstream and I'm going to get my dates wrong because it's been a while, early 1900s. And by one man who, basically was given the symbols that we work with. Oh. And so he started basically putting it into mainstream, teaching other people how to do it. So when you become a Reiki practitioner, you actually have a lineage certificate, which is what's the important thing. Like you can go on, and get a generic one probably on like a Udemy or site, but you're never going to get one that has like the lineage that shows, from the original guy all the way down where you fall in the lineage. And it's basically an amazing way to channel energy, to help people with all kinds of things. It can help with pain. It can help with emotional stuff. It can help with just about anything you can think of. I mean, you can use Reiki on people, on situations, on places, on literally anything you want to, but it's really just channeling pure love and directing it out. I think a common misconception with energy work is that it's, as the practitioner, that it's your energy that you're working with. It's not. You're just basically like the copper tube, for lack of a better phrase, or battery, right?
Sure. Okay.
I mean, it's not. So as a healer, you shouldn't, and I don't even like the word healer so much because it's not my energy. I'm just directing it. But
okay.
I think you find a lot of people who like to take credit for that energy. And if you find a person who takes credit for it, don't give them any money and run the other way.
Okay. So. All right. So you, let's see here. So you are a certified Reiki master. What are how long did you have to train to get to that level? And how can people where can they go? Is there an online school? Yeah. Is there
So I'm going to say some things that's probably going to piss some people off, but I'm going to do it anyway. So
cool. We love to do that on this show. Okay.
Yeah. I did mine online. And it was through Udemy, however you say it. It's a lady out of Australia. And there are, the way in Usui Reiki, there's level 1, level 2, and then master. And that's basically the difference between the levels is which of the symbols you're attuned to. So the more you go, by the time you get to a master level, you've been given this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 main symbols. I think it's 6. That you're able to work with. So basically it's just a matter of which symbols you're attuned to. That's really the only difference. So it's not like you've learned it better than anyone, or you've, got something fancier than anyone else doing the certification. You've just been attuned to all the symbols that are available under that particular modality. Because there are different kinds of Reiki too. I mean, there's a gazillion of them. Fire Reiki, there's tons of them. But I did it online. And it was based on an honor system. You need to do 30 healings with this symbol. You need to do 30 healings this way. So there was a whole lot of work. And it took me, I just did it constantly when I wasn't at my job. I got it done in about 4 months, I think.
Oh, wow. All right.
And the thing I will say that people are going to like is there are a lot of people who say that the online is bullshit. I think what's happening is people are spending a lot of money to go do these in-person courses, which are great.
Sure.
It costs you a lot more money. And then I think what happens in those courses is because you've spent so much money paying to have them done, then you're basically sort of taught that you need to charge a ridiculous amount of money per session for people.
Oh, okay.
At all. I've seen people charge as much as $500 for a Reiki session.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
I mean, if you're paying more than my former attorney boss, who's got $150,000 of student loan debt, making $350 an hour, I have a really hard time stomaching that.
Yeah.
Because again, this is energy that's available to everyone all the time.
Yeah.
It's just that some of us have been certified in how to work with it, how to direct it, how to use it for certain things. And so I keep my prices low because I'd rather people be able to have it than... I'm not trying to make $1 million being a Reiki healer. To me, throws off the energetic balance of what the purpose is of why we're doing it.
Sure.
But that's what I would do. I mean, I'm happy to send you the information of the lady that I got my certifications done. She also has certifications for crystal hearing, space clearing, all all kinds of stuff. I think I've taken just about every single class she offers.
Okay.
And it's all online and it's all at your own pace.
That's cruel.
It's phenomenal.
Cool, not cruel. I was like, did that sound like cruel?
It's gruel.
Yes. If if you will send me her information, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, her name, I can just tell her, but her name is Melissa Crowhurst, Crowhurst. She's actually an American, but she married an Australian and has been living in Australia for a pretty long time. So, but she's amazing. Her energy's awesome.
Okay, cool. Let's see. We'll add her information to our show notes, guys, which you have probably already read. So there, that's why that's there. So now, I think a lot of people, and I think you and I talked about this when we first met, before I had my first session with you. I think a lot of people think that Reiki has to be done in person, but it doesn't. And can you, kind of dispel that notion for folks?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you operate under the pretense that we are all energetically connected, right? We all, I think between the three of us all would agree with that on some level or another. But really what it boils down to is dealing with like the quantum realm, which I know fuck all about. Let's be honest. I don't have a degree in anything. So, but basically with quantum entanglement, energies can be connected no matter what the distance is.
Okay.
Again, it's energy.
Sure.
If you look at it like a radio, right? You can pick up FM and AM radio stations all over the place. It doesn't necessarily it might matter, but you could be in Cambodia and pick up a station. You could be in the States and pick up a station. It doesn't matter where you're going. You're still tapping into those same type of radio frequencies. So it kind of is the same thing here. You know, we all know each other. So our energy can connect just by setting the intention, and then the quantum field does the rest because we are all connected.
Right.
So I think that's another way that people like to justify pricing, is because they will say that Reiki from a distance doesn't work. But that's just not the case. If you spend 2 minutes looking into quantum entanglement in Reiki or quantum entanglement in anything, you'll very quickly figure out that it really does not matter where you are from your Reiki practitioner. So
cool.
And I will say, I thought Reiki had to be done in person until I met you, and we did a session too. And I was like, could definitely, you can feel it. You can feel things happening. And so I always thought that it had to be done in person too. I was under that misconception as well. I mean, obviously I didn't know a lot about it, but
right.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I did, but
I thought it had to be done in person too until I started, taking these courses. I had no idea. So I actually I went ahead and went the extra step and got the certification in distance healing too.
Oh, okay.
Because distance healing is a different symbol altogether to kind of connect the energies. But honestly, in my opinion, I don't think you really need that, because I think it's all intention. Just directing the energy with intention.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I dig it. Now, in your bio, it says that you're an experiencer. What is that?
Well, our friend Andrea, as you well know, once you meet her, weird shit starts to happen. I've always believed in UFOs. My father's a big UFO nut. He finds it all fascinating. And as soon as I met Andrea, and I had heard this before, the first thing she ever said to me when we actually introduced ourselves was, "You're Arcturian." And I had actually heard that before from somebody that I had worked with. And the Arcturians are a race of extraterrestrials. So once I started connecting with Andrea and kind of trying to delve in more into what that means to be part of the galactic family, all kinds of wild shit starts happening. You're seeing things in the sky. At the farmhouse, I can't even describe the amount of things that we saw within 30 seconds of getting out of the car over that house.
Really?
So, yeah. And then when I started realizing that I could channel them for energy work, because I remember asking Andrea, like, what's the best way to connect with them? How do you start establishing a relationship with these beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I wondered that too.
Just like spirits, you just talk to them. And I think in Andrea's book, A Wonder to Behold, which I know she'll eventually release to the public, she would just say to them, "Be known to me," and it works.
Oh, okay.
When I started using that, I was doing a session. It was probably for one of the parents, and I started seeing them appear. So I do see them on occasion. The first time I saw them, they were kind of like a do you guys remember there was an artist in the 80s during, when they were raising money for AIDS research and all that, and he drew, it was like white stick figures almost, primary colors.
Keith Haring?
And they were kind of like yeah. So you know what I'm talking about. That's when I first saw them, that's what I saw.
I'm a big
that
fan.
same outline.
My girl and her
And
art.
they all had, their aura colors went from red out to where you couldn't see color anymore. And then they started rushing in, and they like to get like right in your face. And then they showed me they were working on people, which I think a lot of people would interpret as being abducted, but I was very much getting the sense that they were fixing things.
Oh, yeah.
Not harming, not,
Sure.
I mean, still terrifying for the human that had to go through that, but they were very much trying to make it apparent to me that they are here to help humans. So I think once I started channeling that intention, I think the effects of it got much more powerful.
Wow.
Than using just the Reiki. So what I start, when you do Reiki, I think when you're taking the classes, it's a really good like baseline in crash course in how energy works in the human body and just outside of it. But then it morphs so much. Like what I do now versus what I started doing in 2019, they're not even remotely the same.
Oh, okay.
So I think from if you're really into the energy work, it's a great baseline to learn about it. But then you get to because there's really no rules.
Sure. Yeah.
You may get information from spirit. I get stuff from the galactics, and so you're able to put those into your practice to help your clients heal better, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I see them quite a bit.
Wow.
So that's why I would say experiencer. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and that was going to be like
Andrea said. That's not something I would assign to myself. That's what she says.
Oh,
So
really? Yeah.
I have to clarify that I'm not like, oh, look at me, I'm an experiencer.
Yeah. So, okay. Now let's talk a little bit about the galactic family. Now, and when Andrea was on our show, Laura, I believe we did talk about this a little bit with her because our whole conversation with Andrea was not the farmhouse. It was all ufology. How do you say that? Ufology? Yeah.
Ufology.
Yeah, it was all that. So remind folks, who is the galactic family?
I mean, the galactic family, I think, we don't know how many races there are, but these interdimensional beings that are so beyond us in technology and awareness and consciousness. I mean, to me, I feel like they're a direct offshoot of the collective source. That's my personal opinion. I have nothing to back that up, but that's what it feels like to me.
It feels that way. Yeah, it feels that way.
And they have always been here. I mean, let's be honest. You can't build the pyramids without them. I'm sorry. I don't care what people say. They've always
You mean they
been
weren't
here.
just like heaving those bricks up on their backs?
Right?
They weren't doing that? That's weird.
No, I don't think so.
They weren't
Let's
putting
try.
those like little
Yeah,
like stone Lego pieces in a big circle in England? They didn't do that on their own? That's
I
weird.
don't think so. But I think they are we're kind of like ants to them is kind of how I look at it. And they can help us, but they can't save us from ourselves. People are like, oh, when are they going to just come down and fix everything? Well, that's not their job.
They didn't break it.
Right.
We did.
They're constantly like, what the fuck are you idiots doing? And how did this go so terribly wrong? But I've never been fearful of them. I've never had any nervousness about them. Because I think I've always probably intuitively known that they are here to help. So
Yeah.
that's how I see them. Yeah.
I have to say, I feel like I just had the clearest experiencing UFOs a couple weeks ago that I've ever had.
Oh.
Tell everything
More.
right now. I know, we're like, go on.
I'm so bummed because I had my phone like in my hand and I could not I tried to record what we were all seeing outside and I couldn't get it. It wouldn't like pick it up. And I don't know how to explain that, but it wouldn't work. Like I pointed it out what I was seeing in the sky, but it was like too dark
far.
or yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Where were you? Were you at home?
at that campground in New Mexico?
Oh.
At Dark Sky.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's a certified dark sky area where you go and you camp, and it's dark sky. So at night you see the Milky Way with no telescope or anything. It's just more stars than I think I've ever seen. Just gorgeous.
She sent me some pictures. It was amazing. Just
and the pictures don't like they're crap, right? Like
they don't do it just
up at all.
and they were gorgeous. I was like, holy crap,
Right.
Mom, look at where Laura's at.
So I mean, the camping is like it's like high desert. There's not a lot going on there, but the sky is the whole reason you're there. So we had just I think it was when we got up. Or no, the sun had just gone down. So it was, the moon was still out a little bit. So there was some light still. So, but all of a sudden, kind of the moon's like up in the middle of the sky and like just off to the right, all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3, 4, like pops. But they weren't, it was like something arrived and stopped. And then the next one arrived and stopped, like almost like a bubble of light. And then it would like stop.
Ooh.
And then it went 1, 2, like 3, 4, and then gone.
That's
like
awesome.
How long?
It wasn't shooting star. Like we saw shooting, you know,
Sure.
I know what a shooting star looks like. It's not the same thing. Like it came and stopped, and there's no planes. There's no, you know, like you can see a plane far in the distance. No, nothing does that and gets that like bubble almost. And it seemed like what, like you know, when you watch like Star Trek or something, there's like that warp speed. Yeah, like a corona. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So and then boop, and then gone.
How
It
long?
was crazy. And
How long were they
was
like in the sky for?
a minute.
And this whole time, so
gone.
while they're there, you're trying to get pictures of them, and for whatever reason, you can't.
Well, it just wouldn't show up, like because of the way the lighting was and stuff. Like you know, we didn't get. It was hard to really get the pictures to show up.
Sure.
And they weren't huge. You know, it wasn't like it was super close, but it was in the sky. Very like you could easily see it with the naked eye. So.
And you all saw it.
Mm-hmm.
That's badass. And I've had that situation.
It was shocking. Like I was shocked.
Oh, I bet.
Wow.
I mean, I've had where I've seen things sometimes, and you can, like you said, you can tell if it's a shooting star. You can tell if it's a satellite. And we can all track satellites now. And I've seen things where it's clearly not either of those things. And 2 of those times, I was outside and he was in our like covered screened in area, and I would watch it for a while to just make sure I wasn't seeing a shooting star or a satellite. And I was like, hey, Justin. And as soon as his name came out of my mouth, it disappeared. That's happened twice. He's not supposed to see them yet. And Andrea said that. Like, there's been times when people will see something and there'll be 30 other people and you're the only one who sees it because it's meant for you and no one else.
Wow.
That's why you couldn't photograph it.
Maybe.
Might have just been meant for y'all.
That is so cool, you guys.
Which is even cooler.
Yeah.
And it's personal at that point, right?
Yeah, and I mean, there's no denying it because I wasn't like the only person out there, or you know what I mean. And I have the app on your phone, like where you point at the sky and it tells you what you're looking at, you know.
Yeah.
And so then I had flipped it up in that area later. There's no satellite because it'll show you the satellites, it'll show you everything. There was nothing going on. I know what a satellite looks like. We see them all the time in Phoenix.
Yeah.
We do too because we're only an hour and a half from Cape Canaveral, so you know we've got Starlink. We get alerts every time the ISS goes over, you know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I usually see they're orange or they're blue, or I saw one that was like like a half moon window shape. It was big. That's the biggest one I've ever seen. And I did see a vessel 2 weeks ago. I haven't even told Angie about that because she's been in Alaska, but I saw my first like actual craft outside the house. I've never actually seen a craft. It's usually lights or, you know, weird shimmery vector shapes, stuff like that. But we had an actual craft, and it was weird because it was cloudy and it was in front of the clouds, round, and it had this huge bright white light in the center on the bottom of it. And then I watched it morph into 4 small circles. And then from that, it morphed into a square, a triangle, a circle, and a octagon, maybe, but all like weird, just normal shapes you would learn as a kid. And it was all within about.
Erin, do you know your shapes?
I know, right? They obviously wanted to check if I had, but I'd never seen anything like it. And I just sat there and I'm like, and this is in the middle of the day. It wasn't even at night. Middle of the day, probably like 2:00. So I think they show themselves when people are ready.
Did you see the shots over Mexico City in the soccer game? I believe it was in Mexico City. It was in Mexico somewhere. There was a soccer game, and the sun was going down on the side of the stadium. You know, on the side of the stadium, and there was like a craft in like the sunset, and you could see people could really see it. And there's photos of it online. It's pretty interesting. And then you have the stuff going on in Vegas with the people calling, everybody saw something falling from the sky, and then the people. Did you hear about that? Then the people called.
No.
That I did hear about. A friend of mine
Yeah,
lives in
so then
Vegas.
these
The guy that
people
got you the
called cops and said
room,
there's stuff in the.
he
in
posted
their,
something about it.
Yeah, just that there were aliens in their backyard, and the cops had like
I've heard
seen
about it, but I haven't seen it.
some of the-
That's crazy.
It was just like I mean, they didn't show anything, but it was all. I just feel like there's a lot of stuff right now happening where it's becoming so known, right? And kind of becoming so much more accepted as true, right? Instead of like, it used to be like, oh, only nutters believe in UFOs or believe in that kind of stuff. And it's so much less fringe now and so much more mainstream that I would say most people believe in UFOs now.
Yeah.
I completely agree. And I feel like they're amassing too, because I'm seeing a lot more stuff in the skies than I normally would. Maybe it's something once or twice a week. Now, sometimes it's 6 or 7 things in the sky at once. Sometimes they're lights, sometimes they're streaks, but I told Andrew, I feel like they're amassing for some reason, for something.
Well, and she has said that
like
for a long time.
Download as I'm saying that.
Yeah, and she said that mine has been doing that a lot lately too, like the ringing. But Andrea has said that, I think the first time I ever talked to her, she said that they are like, there's big things happening. And there is. I mean, like, we are doing like horrible, awful, terrible, no good, really bad things to each other. Like, there's all kinds of, to the planet, there's all kinds of stuff. And she's like, they're just kind of getting ready. And I'm like,
monitoring. But it's like
monitoring,
closer and closer and closer and closer because things are getting scarier and scarier.
Yeah. And guys, don't freak out. We're not saying that it's going to be Independence Day up in this bitch No. They're not here, like you said, Erin, they're not here to hurt us.
They're here because they love us. If they wanted to blow this planet up, they could have done it at any point.
Yeah, right.
It would have been done. Exactly. I mean, but, again, that's a fear-based perspective meant to control the people. So, and I think, and I don't mean this like in a political way. I mean, this is just the state of government in general. I think the reason they don't want to disclose this stuff is because it will clearly show how little control world governments have.
Yeah.
So why would they want to tell us what's actually going on? Because it's going to make them look as dumb as they are at the end of the day, So.
Yeah, and I really think Laura and I talked about, like, when we were kind of coming up with locations and things like that we wanted to branch out to other things in the paranormal umbrella, and like UFO abduction cases and stories were important for us to tell. So we did Travis Walton. Did we do Barney and Betty Hill? Mm-hmm. Have we covered them? We did them. There's a number of them that are still left to talk about. So I think, actually, Barney and Betty Hill were just in the news this weekend. I can't remember why, unless it's the anniversary of their abduction. I think might be the reason. Might be the reason. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's just becoming a little bit more accepted, and I think that the people that have actually witnessed it and seen it and experienced it are feeling a little bit more safe to come out and talk about it, which is really important.
Well, and I think too, you have so many people that are hybrids, that were unaware that they were hybrids until somebody like Andrea Perrin tells you you're a hybrid. Yeah. But then things start to make sense about stuff that shouldn't make sense. And I would much rather look at them that way than any other way. They've never shown me anything different. All they do is help me enhance my clients' healing. I mean, I have zero reason to ever think anything other than pure love of them, and I think that's all they want for us. I think they very much love us, but they can't save from ourselves. So
true.
Well, and speaking of that, so with kind of what we were just talking about, like, we see that there's a lot more stuff going on. Do you feel that, and does that like help give you more energy to put into, like, to concentrate onto people for healing and stuff like that, since it seems like they're closer? Does that make sense? Or is it just all the same no matter how far they are,
I think that's a really good question. I think for me, once I started recognizing what they were trying to tell me was that they could help me with that, they increase the ability. I think because now I'm acknowledging that they're another tool for us to use to help people heal. And so it's almost like flipping the on switch.
Oh yeah.
For lack of a better way to phrase it, because before I was really just looking at source, which I think they're still the same thing, but
Yeah.
they offer specific things. I think, like I use that blue light energy for chronic pain. That's something they gave me. That's not something I learned from classes. That's not a certification I took. That's something that they told me to use for people in pain.
And it works. She's used it on me.
It does work. So I think if we're willing to listen, I think if we're open and we're wanting to help the good of humanity, they're going to give us as much information as we could possibly hope for. It's just being aware of it, being open to it. I mean, for God's sakes, there's a giant portal above the Conjuring house that's there all the time. Covers the entire house. It's probably 10 to 20 feet up in the air. People wonder where it's all coming from. It's right fucking there. I see it all the time. So
that place. And those things are everywhere. There's one at the Stanley Hotel. And they've said that for decades upon decades upon decades, is that there's one at the Stanley Hotel, and it's at the landing on the grand staircase. And
they say that about Sedona too, like the vortexes and all that, all that kind of stuff, like going on over there, and
yeah.
Well, especially where
there are places known for it, right? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, you guys have such a huge cluster of ley lines out there. And ley lines, man, there's so much energy in ley lines. And I think I don't know if anybody's ever studied it, but I'd be curious to see if people were to look at ley lines, how many of them have portals that line up with either those important crossing of ley lines where the energy is even more intense or what. But that's like Skinwalker Ranch. I mean, portals, they've got them everywhere. It's just finding them.
Skinwalker Ranch is fucking crazy, man. Holy shit,
but
that
the
episode.
House is just like a mini version of that. They all have the same activity.
Yeah. Archie and I covered that location, and I was like, this is the most bananas thing I've ever heard of.
I talked to, when I went to Antelope Canyon a couple months ago, our guide, it's the native guide talked about skinwalkers a lot once, because my kids will just be like, oh, my mom has a podcast. Oh, mom, did you do skinwalkers? Blah 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 blah. You should do a show on skinwalkers. My kids are always trying to tell me what to do shows on, or let me research for your stuff. Like,
you're like, you're not my supervisor,
right?
Reassure them.
All fine, I'll think about it.
Reassure them we are going to cover skinwalkers.
Right. So then. No, but our guide will talk to me about skinwalkers for the next whole trek through the canyon. He was just talking about his family having experiences with them and just all this stuff. And I was like, it was fascinating, and it was really cool to talk to somebody of the culture who has experienced this stuff. But yeah,
great! I can't wait to hear your history then. I'm having you write that script. Yeah, that sounds cool. Are they kind of
that kind of stuff is just everywhere. If you're open to it, it will I was there to enjoy the canyon. I wasn't, trying to talk about skinwalkers, but then, here it is, it's coming at me, all the time. More information, more experiences, being told to me because I'm open to it, I guess.
Because I drug you into a paranormal podcast.
Right, yes, basically.
I threw you into this world. Yeah.
Well, and I think, too, who's more connected to the land than the Native Americans? No one.
Right.
Yeah.
So between their legend and lore and experiences and things that they believe, I don't think there's any better way to learn about those things than from people like that instead of these idiots on TV trying, you don't know anything.
Right. They don't know anything about it, yeah.
And they don't.
Right, exactly. They don't. And it was funny. I was actually talking to Connie, our friends from Spirits of the Southeast. I was talking to Connie last night, and we were talking about the Hollywood trip and that we're planning. And I was telling her about San Diego and Old Town San Diego and how, the El Campo Santo Cemetery, and then there's these brass discs in the road and the sidewalks in the road in Old Town that are markers of graves that go up to the I-5. And so we got to talking about how there is so much in this brand new baby country compared to Europe and Paris and London and this brand new baby country that is so fascinating and has such a deep, rich paranormal history if you just bother to learn about it, to ask about it, to talk to the natives and find out what the stories are. And every single town, every single city, every single, unincorporated area, places like HoaH, places like, tiny places have such a deep, rich paranormal history if you just bother to dig deep enough and research it. All over the country. I love it.
And I think a big difference too between America and a lot of other countries is that we separate it from our lives, right? This is paranormal. This is different. This is normal. So in a lot of other cultures, this is just the realm of things, right? It's not separated. Like
part of it.
Your ancestors visit you. Like there are spirits. There are, it's not. It's not something else. You know what I mean? Like it's just accepted. Even UFOs.
It's not a fringe thing,
right? Yeah, it's not something that you go. That even people think you have to go seek, right? Because it's just there.
Yeah.
And they don't think anything weird about it, right? It's just the way it is.
Just everywhere.
So, as opposed to like here, maybe where, our culture just doesn't accept a lot of that stuff.
It doesn't. We have to divide people into groups, right? Like, okay, the paranormal people, those are weirdo. Yeah, we have to divide them all into groups for whatever reason. That just helps us to, I don't even know what it helps us to, honestly, but I did that before. I've always loved the paranormal, but yeah, it helps you to just sort of be like, no, I'd stay away from that person. They believe in UFOs and they're weird. And, I don't, we put such solid walls up from trying to learn about other subcultures that, so.
But I think that's what, is so important about, like, for me, learning about energy was it really helped me understand the connection between us and them. I have a hard time with people who, they believe in ghosts, but they're anti-cryptids, they're anti-UFO. It's like,
how can you
if you're operating under that there's like one source, then you can't really deny the existence of all. I don't know. I feel like it just helps us understand more our connectivity to each other and everything else that's out there. Because we all know, we grew up in a society where if you can't assign one of your five senses, then it can't be real. So we're having to like try and get out from under all of that as well. And it's and so for somebody like me who senses basically everything is frequency, it's like, but that's not true. It's not true. You just can't see it. But it's still there. People can understand. They have no problem understanding how internet signal works and radio signal works.
Right.
But there's like, again, that disconnect because it's a fringe thing that energy can present in any other way aside from gassing up your car and playing your favorite podcast. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Carbon-based life forms only, please.
Right. Yeah. And that's the other thing that when I was doing my paranormal tours, it wasn't part of like the script or anything, but I would let everybody know right away that I was a paranormal investigator. And as a paranormal investigator, we believe, the first law of thermodynamics is that energy cannot be created or, it can only change forms.
Right.
So, so if somebody dies with an abundance of this energy, that it's likely to be imprinted in the immediate area. So that, and a lot of my tour guests were like, oh, like they just didn't think about it that way.
The light bulb goes off.
Right. Yeah. So, but that's essentially everything is energy and it can't be created. It can't be destroyed. It simply just changes form. So, and you, Erin, just brought up a really good point. So you said that, you don't understand how some people that believe in the paranormal, but they don't believe in cryptids and they don't believe in UFOs. Talk to me a little bit about your experience, because I've experienced it, and I know that some of our other friends in the paranormal community have experienced it. Talk to me a little bit about the folks that believe in the paranormal. They are some of the best paranormal investigators in the business, but they don't quite believe in psychic mediums or people that are sensitives or have any kind of psychic abilities. Talk to me about your experience with that, what your thoughts are on that, because I know we've all encountered somebody like that, I think.
I think it's one of those things, just like anything else, where you have one bad apple that can ruin it for everyone. We know there's lots of people saying that they're sensitive, but they're not. I think it depends on the intention of the person. Like, if you're calling in a sensitive to your investigation, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people don't want to use sensitives on investigations.
Sure.
I know you guys always have. You support that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, they have a hard time believing that because they just assume you're making it up, that you're just, nimbly pimbly walking around going, I feel this, I feel that. And I think the problem is that does happen a lot.
Sure. Yeah.
So I can understand people's perspective on not wanting to use a sensitive. Like, I actually can understand it.
Right. Me too.
But I think on the flip side of that coin, if you are in this field to learn and grow, you can't just rely on scientific equipment that's really video game equipment in a lot of instances.
Yeah. SLS camera.
You have to be open to using evidence of all kinds. And if like using K2s and REM pods and all that stuff's amazing. So for a sensitive, a lot of times you're using the equipment to validate what you're getting. And I think it has to work the other way. I think when you're investigating and you're using equipment, you have to at least be open to getting information from a sensitive to see if you can validate your stuff out.
Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of times sensitives get a bad rap. I can understand it on a lot of levels, but I also think we have to get to a point where we have to acknowledge the fact that people are tuning into things that they can't see.
Right. Yeah. We just
how energy works.
Right. And we just kind of operate on a different radio frequency. That doesn't mean, we're just operating on a different radio frequency. But I think that the folks that believe in the paranormal, but don't believe that people can be mediums or connected to source or psychically connected or see the spirits or whatever, I don't know. I feel like I'm all, but why? Like, why do you believe?
Yeah. I think it's a lot of people, it goes against everything that they were brought up to believe. How many people, and not so much in our age range, I think it's shifted enough now, but further back, our parents and further back than that, people like that were nuts. They were put in places that we now go investigate. How many of those people that were put in these facilities because they were crazy were just sensitives?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think all of it is based on fear. I also think that's why it's scary to talk to somebody who knows information about you that no one should know. We both know it. We've both had to deal with that.
Yeah. It's scary to have that information that I have no business knowing.
And yeah, exactly. But then, you just have to be willing to at least hear somebody out. But I think there's a lot of fear that, people are able to pick up on things that aren't there, quote unquote. And I think fear, if you believe in the paranormal, but I know like a big one, like Chip Coffey, absolutely terrified of UFOs.
Really?
Staffis, terrified of UFOs. Will not discuss it. Nope. But it's fear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. That does. Nobody wants to Nobody wants
to get pulled out of bed in the middle of the night and a probe shoved up their ass. Let's be honest. That's what people don't want.
True. And they don't want to. Listen, Laura.
Very true.
Some people go on apps just for that.
Just for that.
Well, Laura, that's our other podcast. My Bumble stories. Okay. No. I think that some people don't want to be sitting there with their friend and think, does she know what I'm thinking? Can she read my mind? Mm-hmm. Does she know what happened last night? You know what I mean? Just sort of especially once my Jennifer, bless her heart, once my abilities my abilities evolve. It's been over a year since Andrea blew my third eye open, but my abilities have evolved, and the most recent thing is I can do remote viewing, which essentially means if I meditate, I can take a look at a space and just kind of check it out. So the little ghost in Jennifer's house has been kind of acting up lately, and we believe because she's doing it because of the massive energy shift and emotional shift that's gone on in their home because of Jennifer's mother. So is the reason why she's acting out. And she's not doing anything horrible or bad or whatever. So she locked their cat in their bathroom. And so Jennifer and Mike
no.
let Eddie out, and fortunately they found it before they went to work. And so she's telling me about this on the drive into work, and I'm like, well, you want me to like check it out and just kind of see like what's going on? And she was like, can you do that? And I'm like, apparently Zach had me do it, we was on an investigation. I can now. And she was like, okay. And so I just kind of like looked like around their house, and the little girl just hangs out in the foyer upstairs, and she's just there like, looking out the window or, whatever. And I'm like, she's not doing anything. I said, Eddie's in his, spot on the cat tree, and there's nothing going on. She's not really hurting anything, but she's the one that locked him in the bathroom, because all I had to do was she had to send me a picture of Eddie, and I touched it, and I was like, yeah, it was her. Because they make sure not to lock him in the bath, because he likes to get in the bathtub. So kind of like your Eddie. So they make sure that he's not in the bathroom when they leave for the day. And Mike happened to go upstairs because he forgot something. And hello, Bean.
He's back.
Mike heard the meowing. And so he comes, let him out, and he comes down. He's like, did you know you locked Eddie in the bathroom? She was like, I swear to God, he wasn't there, because she had to step over him to walk down the stairs, and she didn't leave the bathroom door open. And he's like, well, he was in there crying and scratching to get out. And I was like, yeah, she did that. Yeah. But it's a situation where she's like, you don't like look in on us often, do you? I'm like, no, I'm not like, I'm not like meditating and like peeking into like, oh, they're sitting on the couch. Like they always are.
Use my powers for evil.
I don't. Right? Yeah, like I know what you guys are doing. You're sitting on the couch. You're both on your iPads. You got the TV on.
Right. You're boring. Nobody cares.
I've been there. I was just there yesterday. I fucking know. I know what you do. Yeah. Like, so I don't. I think people think that if their friends are psychic mediums or whatever, that they like are mind readers, and they are, voyeurs that love to just be like, she's painting her fireplace gray. That's so stupid.
Hey.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
By the way,
like,
it looks good.
Right?
Right? So I just think that we get like, I think, and I know that some of my friends have been like, really? I don't know if I like that. I'm like, well, try having the ability.
yeah, right. Well, and I think that the squeaky toy has entered the building. I'm sorry. I think that's also what's interesting too. When you know your friend is a sensitive, I think part of the reason you lose friends often once you start learning you have these abilities is that they figure out they can't white lie to you anymore.
Yeah, that's been another big lesson. That's been another big lesson. That there have been people. Oh,
but they said they like you. It's like, yeah, but the mouth says one thing, but the energy says something
completely different. Yeah,
you can't deny it.
I really like though, and everybody is capable of it. I mean, I was telling my tour guests this, that we've all got that sixth sense. Like we all know, like when someone's staring at us, we all know that like, ooh, I just feel really uncomfortable around this person or in this place. And that's why I'm always joking with Laura when we go on investigations, because she goes off by herself and I'm constantly like, where's Laura? Where's Laura? Where's Laura? But I like that she does that, because she goes off and it's just her in the space, and she's feeling the vibe, and she's checking stuff out. And I think that that's what makes a good investigator, because she's not relying too heavily on equipment. She's not relying too heavily on other people in the room with her. She's just going in and like checking out this cool historic building that she's researched for the show or whatever. And I think that's what makes a really good investigator, because I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, Laura, that there have been instances of places that we've been where you have felt a wee bit uncomfortable wherever it is you've gone to check out or wandered into or to look at or whatever.
It happened in OSR when we went to take pictures in that cell. Like I didn't, for whatever reason, I had a lot of apprehension to go in that, all of a sudden, because I'm not afraid of any of. Like,
not a damn thing. She's not afraid of nothing.
Not at all. Not unless there's like bugs.
Bugs.
As long as it's not
a fair
bugs,
one.
That's a fair one, yeah. And a lot of these places have them, so.
Right, but you know what I mean. As long as it's not like a room filled with gross.
Yeah.
But there was no like reason for me to feel that way, but all of a sudden I had I don't know, dread maybe, like just apprehension, lots of apprehension. Like I didn't want to go in there, and not because I was like skeeved out because of something. It was more like I don't know, sad, almost scared, but not scared. You know what I mean? Like just anxiety, nervousness, apprehension.
Well, it's because you're picking up on what's in that space. I mean, that entity that we happened to catch photographically was very much scared and didn't want us to leave and very upset.
Wanted us to come back.
Yeah, and so I think, you know, even for, and I think too, we can't underplay the importance of people being skeptical too, right? Like if you blindly believe everything anybody tells you, you're just an idiot. So you have to have a skeptic.
Hey,
skeptics are super important, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting when skeptics start to then, because you've been doing this a long time, you start picking up the energy around you because now you know what that feels like or what it looks like. And I think that's why, you know, for humans, understanding energy is so important because then you're just much more aware of what's going on around you, even if you can't touch it, taste it, see it, or smell it.
Yeah. And it can help protect you too.
Would you say, Laura, you've picked up more on that now with all the times you've done this now, you're just becoming more aware of what's in the air, for lack of a better phrase. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree too. And, you know, when you guys were talking about the psychic thing, like, and I do listen to what, you know, Carrie says, or you say, you know, we're around stuff. Cause I believe that you guys have feelings, right? Like about things. Mm-hmm. But I do think that there's a lot of bullshit too that I've seen, like literally personally, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a lot of both out there. And I think, like what you were saying, it does give a lot of credence to people that criticize mediums or, you know, and people that are sensitive. But then I think it also makes it that much harder for people who do have feelings to actually acknowledge them too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In a way, because you know, you think something and you're like, oh, that's just stupid. Yeah.
It happens.
It allows you to dismiss yourself a lot.
It happens all the fucking time. All the time. Yeah. Anymore. Like I just live in it now. Like, they've evolved so much and it's just so much a part of my daily life that I'm constantly talking to my guides. Constantly. Where did I go the other day?
Oh yeah.
Where the hell was I the other day? At the grocery store or somewhere. And I'm like, I went to Walmart and I'm like, oh, you know what we need? We need new like solar lights for the driveway. And literally talking out loud, I'm like, I don't know. What do you guys think? This is kind of expensive and they're kind of smaller than I wanted. And I don't know, maybe we shouldn't get those, but there's 6 in a box. And I think, how many do we need? Yeah. I'm just constantly living in this world. And I didn't realize I was talking out loud until the lady next to me was like,
you're like, I'm having a staff meeting. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, because I was just as loudly as I wasn't like mumbling. I was just as loudly as I'm talking to you guys. Like somebody was standing next to me and she was just looked at me like,
you're fucking crazy.
Yeah. I just live in this world now, and so
you get space.
Right,
nobody's gonna crowd you.
Yeah, her perfume was terrible anyway, so thank you. No, I just live in this world constantly every single day now. I don't know how to live otherwise, but in the very beginning, I didn't. And you remember, Laura, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know what I was saying. I didn't know how I was getting this information. I didn't want it. I didn't know what to do with it. Like, am I supposed to be giving somebody a message? Am I not? I don't. And I will never be that kind of sensitive. Where I'm giving readings or I'm doing anything or making money off of this. I use it to either help my family, help my friends, and primarily in investigations. That's it, and that's all. But
and I think that's good too, because there's so many people that are just bullshit. Mm-hmm. You know, or they want to take advantage. Maybe they do have a small gift, but they think that they try to use it to like extrapolate stuff onto people, or you know what I mean, like kind of push it onto people, even though like I don't know. I feel like that happens a lot, you know.
It does. I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right
for sure.
I feel the same way you do. I have no desire to read. I get stuff in sessions sometimes and I'll tell people, but I'm never going to offer readings. That's just not, and I'm not powerful. Like, that's not my strength. My particular lane. You okay?
Yeah, I moved a cord and then all of a sudden I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, okay, I couldn't hear Erin either, so I think like something happened.
Oh, okay. All right. I won't touch the cord. I won't. I'll just freeze.
Don't touch anything. Quit fucking touching stuff. God,
I'll just sit like this for the rest of the show.
hand check, damn it.
I mean, every single show, we prove we need a professional producer. Every single one of them. Oh, well. You got me, and that's fucking it. So, I had another question, and I can't remember what it was. Do you have a question, Laura?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot.
I think we did.
And I really liked. I felt like I learned a lot about where I didn't know all that, the stuff about the energy and where you're bringing it from and all that stuff. I think it's really cool. Because as a Buddhist, I believe everybody's connected, right?
Is.
So, yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, Laura and I had a great conversation
we're
about
not
that.
teaching rockets. I'm not teaching rocket science here. Like, this is stuff that I think now I would consider almost common sense, but nobody teaches us this stuff.
And nobody's teaching common sense anymore.
No.
No.
Very big shortage of that these days.
For sure. Yay. Let's see. I'm going through.
I have to tell you, I'm going to Chichen Itza. So
I'm sorry, what now?
I'm going to Chichen Itza. You know what that is, right?
I have no idea.
We're talking about the ley lines and all that stuff. So
yeah.
I'll show you later. It's in Cancun. It's Mayan. The big castillo.
Oh, yes.
So, and I've been to Machu Picchu, and definitely Machu Picchu feels like super magical. But so I'm gonna go there in September. I'm gonna have you give me some ideas of how to focus that. Yeah, because that'd be super cool.
The two of us, we got you covered.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
I'm gonna like video chat with you guys from there if I can.
God, please
Probably
do.
Can't get good signal,
Please
but
do.
you know.
Well, it's funny you say that because she's getting ready to go stay at the farmhouse or like on the property, not in the farmhouse. They don't want people there 24/7. But she's getting ready to go up there for 3 weeks, and I'm like, can we Zoom a couple of times so that I can just like say hi to them and just kind of like be there when like there's not a tour going on or whatever.
I'd love to see it when it's not just like on somebody else's show or like like a picture or whatever.
Yeah, even just like outside. Yeah, right. Even just like outside to like see the property, and like I've seen pictures and stuff of it, and my mom saw that.
I don't think Jacqueline has issues with that. I think obviously if I was trying to live stream it, I'd have to.
No, just like a private call.
No, not for like TikToks,
awesome.
just like
just like a private call. My mom saw your picture. I don't know if it's your profile picture. It's you in front of the farmhouse. Like that's just like way behind you. Mm-hmm. And she showed it. She's like, "Where is she at?" And I looked at it. I just glanced at it, and I didn't even see you in the picture. All I saw was the house, and I was like, "The farmhouse." And she was like, "What farmhouse?" And I'm like, because she only knows it is the Conjuring house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, the Conjuring house," and she went, "Ew." Like, I don't know. Like you were in a giant box filled with roaches. She just like pulled her phone away and went, "Ew."
And I'm like, I can't wait to get there. I want to live there forever.
Well, and she has admitted when we go up there in September, she has admitted she'll go to the property, but she can't wait to meet you and Andrea and everybody, but she's not going in the house. And I was like, okay, well, we're not going to make you, Mom. But, she might change her mind. She said the same thing about the Myrtles plantation, and she fell in love with it. So, I think she'll be fine, but yeah.
I think she'll be fine. I think once she gets there and sees how good it feels there now, like, I think she'll have a different perspective.
I think so too. And I'm definitely dragging. Right, yeah, or she might have to pay. Then what are you going to do?
And then when you hand her caffeinated beverages and be like,
go deeper into the scary woods, Or go inside, one of the two.
And I think it's interesting that that's the one place that I'm most drawn to are the woods behind it, not the house. Like, I want to go poke around the woods behind it, which, if my favorite murder has taught me nothing, it's don't go into the woods.
Not those woods.
They're always saying that don't go into the woods, don't go into the forest.
No.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to drag Laura there one day. Most all of our paranormal stuff, though, is going to be done on the West Coast in 2024 because baby girl here has flown lots of miles back here to do various podcast things. So we're going to be fair, and we're going to do a lot of stuff in 2024 on her side of the country.
We say
I
that
love it.
now. But
We do.
That will change. Because, like, everybody's on the East Coast. I'm, like, the only one on the West Coast. So.
Well,
But
that's
definitely
true.
LA, so that'll be fun. And, Erin, I hope you think about coming. That'll be a good time. We're going to have fun.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Would love to.
Yeah.
Rick, heck yeah.
He's amazing. Yeah, I can't wait to interview him. Laura, you're going to really, really like this guy. He's super cool.
He's so much fun.
He's super
I
cool.
mean, I've never met him. I do know a little bit of background on him, but I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it too.
He's great.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Next week's show is going to be really great with Andrea and Michelle Roos. And Erin is going to be back. And we're going to talk about all things spiritualism. We're going to I want to ask Michelle a lot of questions about being an exorcist. I got tons.
You're probably gonna have to give her own slot too after the fact.
Yeah. It's probably, so already, guys, we are an hour and a half into Erin's show. So I would not be surprised if next week's show is about 2 hours. So
Yeah.
I'm going to coordinate with all of you later this week just to schedule a time so that we have plenty of time to do it.
Love it.
But I don't have any other questions for her. Do you, Laura?
Not right now, but we can always bug her later too. We'll just
1,000. I mean, right? She's.
All my digits.
Hey, yeah, right. Update the website, and while you do, answer this question. So listen, this is this is you can put a section up there called things that Carrie forgot to ask the guest.
Yeah, we could legit have a whole thing about that.
A whole thing, yeah, a whole
All right.
page.
So should we do her lightning round questions?
We should do her lightning round questions. So go ahead.
All right.
This is Laura's.
Let me tell you the rules.
Yes.
So you will be given 2 options to pick from. You have to choose one of them. You can't just make up another one. You got to answer as fast as you can. You don't have to explain or defend your answer, nor do we want you to. And then you will be given 1 open-ended question, and you got to answer it. All right?
Roger that. Bernie apparently wants to play too.
All right, you ready?
Ready. I'm ready.
All right. Sleep in or take a nap?
Answer quick.
Sleep in.
Locked in alone for 72 hours. Which would you prefer, the Stanley Hotel or the Winchester Mystery House?
Winchester Mystery House.
Travel in the country or travel abroad?
Ooh, travel abroad.
Better video gamer, you or your husband?
My husband by far.
Organized to the smallest detail or controlled chaos?
Organized to the smallest detail.
Crystal that speaks to you the most, clear quartz or rose quartz?
Clear.
Quartz. Go forward in time or go back in time?
Forward.
Funnier parent family member, Caroline, Roger, or Andrea?
Oh, Carolyn.
Yeah, yay.
So work on a puzzle or play a game?
Game.
Quick. Okay.
Game. All right. Best paranormal podcast ever.
History of a Haunting.
Yay!
I
Yay!
love how she puts that one in all the time. Like somebody's gonna be like, nah.
What if somebody is going to be like, and that's why we drink, or, something other than us. Yay. So that is, yes, our new game that we do with guests. It's called Get to Know Our Guests, the lightning round edition. So now, Erin, let everybody know where they can find you if they're interested in a healing session. Where can they go to book one, and what you have coming up that's fun and exciting that you want people to know about. This is where we brag about you.
So I only have Instagram and Facebook, and I'm under Erin Kathleen Bush on both. So you should be able to find me pretty easily there. And then just for sessions, I haven't done a website, so just message me and I try to coordinate them around other people's schedules as best I can, people's comfort level. Some people like Reiki, at night because it makes them sleepy or whatever. So I try to just coordinate with them. Oh, okay. And then as far as what I've got coming up, nothing exciting, right? No, I'm leaving in 2 weeks for the Conjuring House. I'll be spending almost 3 weeks there. And then in September, I've got Ocean State Paracon up there. Yep, you'll be there for that.
Be there for
and
that.
Then I have an event in Indiana with Michelle Roos as a handler. And then I'll be back at the farm for Halloween.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's going to be, pretty crazy the next couple of months. August is really going to be my only downtime, I think. So, but all good stuff. Like, I'm super excited. I still don't know how I got here.
You do sometimes look a little deer in the headlights when you look back at your life and all the things you're involved in. You're like, really?
Right.
What did this happen?
Yeah, I do that a lot. It's like what from the Titanic. When he's playing poker and he's like, 1 minute I was outside, now I'm sitting on the ship, finest ship in the world, drinking champagne with you fine people. That's how I feel most of the time.
Right, yeah.
Minus the champagne, of course, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I've said it before, and I will say it again, and I will always say it, that the people that you are working with and working for and doing all of this stuff with, us included, we could not have chosen a better person than you to handle all of us, because you do it so well, so seamlessly. You have certainly kept me from losing my mind, especially with all of the planning of the Ohio State Reformatory and the convention and the merch and the website, and so you, I think I can speak for all of us when I say how grateful we are that you help us so tremendously, and we're very blessed. So,
it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
I'll pay you for that comment after we're done. No.
Thank you. You have
my
Venmo. You have my Venmo. Okay, so that, guys, that is it. Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot. A listener had a question. When they found out you were going to be on the show and they know who you are and they know what you do, a listener had a question, and that question is, and this isn't part of the lightning round, they want to know, what is one of the best paranormal experiences you've had with Andrea Perrin?
Oh boy. Well, she wasn't in the room for most of these, but I had some pretty powerful experiences at the farm last year. We had, I was outside by myself, and it was during the movie. So it was, 10, 11 o'clock, no lights outside. And I saw my first full bodied apparition walk by.
That's right.
White. I'm guessing residual, because was not aware. And I saw it over here, right? Like, it wasn't, I saw it right in front of my face, but I could clearly see it was the figure of a man walking by me, but he was unaware of my presence.
Was it our friend or no?
No, I think it's one of the soldiers buried in the wall, actually.
Oh, by the way, there's soldiers buried in the wall of the farmhouse.
7 dead soldiers buried in the wall. Maybe he's not buried there, but I think he's tied in with that.
Sure.
The first time I had a door open there with the latch lifting and the door flung open, I giggled like a 5-year-old, and everybody in the room was like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Listen, y'all do this all the time. I do not, so let me have this." And then I was meeting our friend. My first time experiencing a cold breeze. I'm in Florida, so my habit as the breeze is going by is to look for the air conditioning vent in the fans, of which there are neither, because it's a 300-year-old farmhouse. But yeah, those are probably, or Savannah, the choking in Savannah. That was with Andrea. We both of our throats closed up at a property we were at where a slave was found hanged.
Yeah, God.
But the farm really takes it for me, because again, I don't have a lot of experiences. I've had life experiences, but nothing that is as in your face as that farmhouse.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
I'll have much more to add to that probably here in a couple of weeks.
I'm excited for that one too.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, Laura and I are like, just Zoom us and we'll just be there with you. Be like, let's just walk around together.
Oh yeah, we'll totally do that. We'll walk through the woods. We can walk through the house.
Cool. I'm down. This is going to be fun.
It is going to be fun.
It's going to be so fun. Okay. Yeah. So sorry about that. I was like, I scrolled through and I was like, oh crap, that's right. They had that question. So thank you so much for that. All right. Well, Laura, this is the part of the show where we tell everybody where they can follow us should they choose to do so, because we are a hoot on social media, guys?
Oh, yes.
You can find. I'm like, are we? You can follow us.
I am. I don't know. You're not. You're never on it.
True. On Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at HoaH Podcast. And again on the TikTok at HoaH Carrie and at HoaH co-host Laura.
Yay! All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. If you have any questions, Erin has let you know where you can find her as far as scheduling appointments, or we're going to list that woman that runs the school that she got certified at. We'll put that in our show notes.
I'll give you her info.
Yeah, if you have any questions, you can reach out to Erin. And of course, you can reach out to us. Generally, you guys just ask why we suck at tech. But if you have other questions, we're happy to answer those, whatever. But to that end, Laura, as we always say here when we say goodbye, you stay safe out there, because you never know who
Or what
is listening. Bye, guys.